नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्यति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशचारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण. So we are discussing fourth canto, chapter 2, Daksha curses Lord Shiva. In this chapter began with the question asked by Vidura to Maitreya Rishi. Lord Shiva is Atma Rama. He is the greatest of the Devatas. He is the best among the gentle. He is the personification of peacefulness. But he is the Charachara Guru, the Guru of the moving and non-moving living entities. Then why did actually Daksha hate such a personality like Lord Shiva? And why did Sati take such an extreme decision of giving up her own life? Because of the quarrel between her father and Lord Shiva. So in response, Maitreya Rishi starts narrating the Daksha Yajna. Once Daksha Prajapati was performing a sacrifice, and when he entered the sacrificial arena, everybody, being influenced by the effulgence of Daksha's personality, they got up and welcomed Daksha. But Lord Shiva was sitting in his meditation. Daksha Prajapati, he had an envy towards Lord Shiva from a long time. And this particular instance of Lord Shiva not getting up to welcome him, that actually acted like a spark, and then that ignited that envy. And Daksha Prajapati, he started actually blaspheming Lord Shiva. He began by saying that I am not speaking out of ignorance or out of envy towards Shiva. Hare Krishna. He began by saying that I am not speaking out of ignorance or out of envy towards Shiva. And then he started criticizing the character of Lord Shiva. After criticizing the character of Lord Shiva, then he said that, then he cursed Lord Shiva. This Lord Shiva will not be able to accept the sacrificial offerings along with the other devatas. And then he spoke like that, and then he left the assembly. So we'll discuss that. 19th shloka. Nishidyamanassa sadasya mukyair.
Nishidyamanassa sadasya mukyair.
Daksho giritraya visrajya shapam.
Daksho girityaya visrijya shapam.
Tasmad vinishkramya vivruddhamanyur.
One minute. Tasmad vinishkramya vivruddhamanyur.
Jagama kauravya nijam niketanam.
Jagam kauravyam nijam niketam. Wait. Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, in spite of the requests of all the members of the sacrificial assembly, Daksha, in great anger, cursed Lord Shiva and then left the assembly and went back to his home.
So after cursing Lord Shiva, Daksha Prajapati, what did he do? That is being described here. Jagama, Daksha left, he went. Jagama, who went? Dakshaha Jagama, Dakshaha went. Daksha went. And this Daksha, Vivruddha Manyuhu, with his increased anger. What kind of a Daksha? Vivruddha Manyuhu. Daksha, whose anger had increased. Such a Daksha left that assembly. After doing what? Visrujya, Shapam Visrujya, after cursing Lord Shiva. Giritraya Shapam Visrujya, after pronouncing a curse to Giritra. Giritra is the name of Shiva. Giritraya Shapam Visrujya, Dakshaha, Vivruddhaha Manyuhu Dakshaha Jagama. The Daksha, whose anger had increased after pronouncing the Shapa, he left. And in fact, when Daksha was leaving, Nishidyamanaha sa sadasya mukyaihi. Sadasya mukyaihi nishidyamanaha. Sadasya mukyaihi means all the important members of the assembly, which indicates Lord Brahma also and the sages. They all tried to stop Daksha from leaving the assembly. Sadasya mukyaihi nishidyamanaha. Although being stopped by all the prominent, important members of the Sabha, but still Daksha left. Tasmad Vinishkramya, he left that place and Nijam Niketanam Jagama. Where did he go? He went to his own house. He left that place and he went to his own house. So what does this show is actually how Daksha Prajapati is he is completely blinded by the false ego, pride and anger. Although he was convinced by the exalted personalities like Brahma not to leave, but still he did not listen to anybody's advice. That means he thought that his opinion is the best, right opinion. He couldn't actually listen to anybody else's opinion. That is why the Acharyas say that Daksha thought that I don't see anyone. My opinion is the right opinion. Nobody is more intelligent than me. Therefore, he did not listen to anybody's advice. And he felt that I should not actually stay in the assembly where irreligious people are there. Thinking like that, he didn't want to stay there. He felt all the people over there are religious people. And others, they said, don't become angry, please come back. But he couldn't listen to anybody. He couldn't listen to anybody. That is how when a person becomes completely blinded means when a person loses all one's intelligence, krodhat bhavati sammohat smriti vibramah, smriti bramshat buddhinashat pranashyati. The anger completely covers one's intelligence actually. So it is said in the Niti, Ajnah sukamaradhya सुखतरमाराध्यते विशेषज्ञः ज्ञानलवदुर्विदग्धं ब्रह्मापि तं नरं न रञ्जयति. Somebody who is ignorant, he can be easily be instructed. Ajnah sukham aradhya. Sukataram aradhyate visheshajnah. Somebody who is knowledgeable, he can be even more instructed because generally a knowledgeable person are humble. Ignorant person who understands that I am ignorant, he can be easily instructed. And a knowledgeable person who will be humble, he can be even more easily instructed. But jnana lava durvidagdam, one who has Jnanalava durvidagdam. But that person who has a very little knowledge, but who thinks himself to be learned, such a person cannot be pacified, cannot be instructed even by Lord Brahma. Brahmapi tam naram na ranjayati. किंतु जिस अल्प ज्ञानी को अपने ज्ञान का मिथ्या अभिमान हो, उसे तो ब्रह्मा भी समझा नहीं सकते. Literally, this verse is true because Brahma himself tried to convince Daksha not to leave the assembly. That is what the Acharyas write in the purport. So we see that the false ego is so detrimental that with the influence of false ego, when the expectations which are based on the false ego, when they are not fulfilled, Daksha could not see the power of the divine association of Brahma and Shiva. He couldn't appreciate the divine power, the exalted association of Brahma and Shiva. Therefore, Daksha decided to cut off his association with the satsanga. So that is how a person will actually leave that satsanga. So Daksha wanted that satsanga must fulfill his vision and paradigm. He felt that if the satsanga does not fulfill my vision and my paradigm, then I will leave the satsanga. We are supposed to approach the satsanga for getting transformed by the satsanga and to render service to the devotees present there and not to impose our expectations. But Daksha wanted to impose his own views. And because of that, he actually, first effect of that is that he lost the association. He couldn't stay there. He felt that the entire assembly is contaminated by adharma. So, here, oftentimes the people, one form of identification, people identify themselves with the body. But another form of identification is that I am my opinion. One identifies oneself with one's own opinion. So when somebody else speaks something which is contradicting one's opinion, one cannot actually take that opinion. There is one thinker, he said that, let me never fall into the vulgar mistake of dreaming that I am persecuted whenever I am contradicted. Sometimes people think that when somebody speaks something different from my opinion, oh, I am getting persecuted. So oftentimes there is a strong identification with one's opinion. So we may have to tell our opinion, but we should not be attached to our opinion because everybody thinks differently. Different people will accept different opinions. But Daksha Prajapati was attached to his opinion, although many people tried to convince him not to leave the assembly, but he didn't listen and he left the assembly. And Daksha Prajapati was a person, he was identifying himself more with the subordinates than with the superiors. Sometimes when a person is a leader, because of the followers respecting him, one may identify oneself more with the subordinates than with the superiors. But that will be detrimental. In the case of Daksha, he took the relation with the subordinates more seriously than the relationship with the superiors. So therefore, that is why one subordinate, Lord Shiva, his son-in-law, did not get up to respect him. Therefore, he felt so much. He became so disturbed. How the subordinates are dealing with me? Are they respecting me? He was identifying more with the subordinates than the superiors. Although the superior, like Brahma, told him not to leave the assembly, but he didn't listen because he was identifying more with the subordinates. On the other hand, if we see Lord Shiva in the episode of Mohini Murti, when Vishnu appeared as Mohini Murti, Shiva became enchanted by the beauty of Mohini Murti. He started running after Mohini Murti. Mohini Murti ran in those places where the followers of Shiva were performing tapasya. And Shiva was running after the Mohini Murti, and Shiva discharged semen. And after some time, he came to his senses. So, in one sense, it all happened in front of his subordinates, in front of the people who were worshipping him. So, sometimes when a person is exposed in front of one subordinates, it will be such an embarrassing situation, especially when the person is identifying himself more with the subordinates. Oh, I am your leader, I am the guru. And suppose when he commits a mistake uh, in front of the subordinates, it's a highly embarrassing situation. But Lord Shiva in that episode, when he came to his senses, the first response he spoke was that, oh, how powerful is the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu. How amazing is the illusory energy, how powerful is the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu, that I got illusioned by that energy. So Lord Shiva, although so many people worship him, but Lord Shiva took the relationship with his worshipable Lord more important than the relationship with the subordinates. Than the relationship with the subordinates. So therefore, uh, he actually, even after that episode of Mohini Murti, he actually became more astonished by the illusory energy of Vishnu. Instead of becoming embarrassed, so I'm exposed in front of the subordinates, like that. So that is the greatness of Lord Shiva. But Daksha Prajapati, he was identifying more with this relationship with the subordinates than the relationship with the superiors. Therefore, he did not listen to the advice of the superiors. And another way to look at it is that, like, Daksha is a Prajapati. His service is to actually increase the progeny. Shiva getting up or not getting up, it does not at all affect his service. It does not at all affect his service. But for Daksha Prajapati, his ego was getting affected. So when a person is detached, one will not be affected by the circumstances, whether others are respecting me or not, and one will continue to do one service. But Daksha Prajapati, although Shiva not getting up did not at all affect his service of increasing the progeny, but because of his false ego, he got affected. So therefore, the opportunity to render service is a great fortune. So one should not allow the anarthas to distract us from performing the service. Another example in the Bhagavatam, Brihaspati, he became affected by Indra not getting up to welcome him. This example is given in the by Sridhar Swami. When Lakshmi Devi was doing a Swayamvara, she was trying to select a suitable husband. She was seeing every personality present in that assembly. And one by one, she was rejecting by seeing the uh, weaknesses of the different personalities present over there. So this personality has this good quality, but he has this weakness. And then thinking like that, in her mind, she was thinking, and then she was rejecting one by one. And finally, she chose Lord Vishnu as the husband. And one group of personality whom she rejected was that Jnanam Kvachit Tachana Sangha Varjitam. There are people who are highly knowledgeable, but they are not freed from material desires. They are not freed from the desire to be respected. And when she was spoke this, she was remembering actually personalities like Brihaspati. Brihaspati, although highly knowledgeable, he had an expectation to be respected. Therefore, he got offended. He felt offended when Indra did not get up. Hmm. So sometimes, like there is a real instance between two matas, two sannyasis. There was a arati which was going on in the temple, and after the arati, the lamp was brought, and then the arati was given to one sannyasi, and another sannyasi was also present. And then there was a quarrel between them. How can you give the arati first to this particular sannyasi? I am senior to him. Like that, there was a quarrel. So His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj mentioned that the arati lamp is the Mahaprasad of the Lord. And that Mahaprasad lamp was supposed to extinguish the false ego inside. But the false ego within the heart was blazing so intensely that the lamp, which is supposed to extinguish the false ego, it actually, instead of extinguishing the false ego, it increased the false ego, that it resulted in a quarrel between them. So one Digvijay Pandit, he came to Vrindavan. His name was Rupa Narayana. He wanted to defeat Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, they were not interested in debate and defeating somebody. They were just focused on their service. They immediately gave the Vijay Patra. But they considered the seva to Radha Krishna to be so important that they did not want to be distracted by such a debate. And then, but then, uh, Jiva Goswami, who is the disciple of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. What is a disciple called in Sanskrit? Disciple is called in the Sanskrit as Chatra. The etymological meaning of the word Chatra is Guru Dosha Chadanam Chatram Tachilamasya. Guru Dosha Chadanam. Guru Dosha, the faults in the apparent faults in the Guru Dosha Chadanam, to cover up that fault. To cover up the apparent faults of the Guru is known as Chatra. And one whose innate nature is to do so is known as Chatra. Chatra is supposed to cover up the apparent faults in the Guru. Therefore, Jiva Goswami, being the perfect Chatra, he went to Rupa Narayan. He went to Rupa Narayan. Rupa Narayana was chanting Gayatri. That time Jiva Goswami was not chanting Gayatri. And then later Rupa Narayana asked Jiva Goswami, why are you not chanting Gayatri? Jiva Goswami said that Gayatri is chanted when the sun changes its phases. But in my heart, the sun of Krishna Bhakti is always shining effulgently. So therefore, there is no need for me to chant Gayatri. And when a death takes place, and when there is a Sutak, one does not chant Gayatri. In my heart, all the material desires have died. So therefore, I am not chanting Gayatri. He just gave us some, he would chant Gayatri, but he just gave us some puzzle type of answer. Rupa Narayana, he never expected such an answer. And then after that, Jiva Goswami debated with Rupa Narayana and easily defeated Rupa Narayana. And and Jiva Goswami came and told that how he defended the honor of Rupa and Sanatana by defeating Rupa Narayana. Rupa Goswami said that this is not Vrindavan spirit. You want to show your scholarship to defeat somebody. This is not at all a Vrindavan spirit. Therefore, you are not qualified to stay in Vrindavan. You get out of Vrindavan. That is what Rupa Goswami said. So, the whole concept of, oh, I am superior, this person is inferior, he is not respecting me, that is not a Vrindavan spirit. But Daksha was so affected by Lord Shiva not getting up. So, if we see here, Prabhupada in the purport, he actually talks about anger. We'll discuss, speak something about anger. Anger is so detrimental that even a great personality like Daksha, out of anger, left the arena where Brahma was presiding and all the great sages and saintly persons were assembled. All of them requested not to live, but uh, Daksha felt that Daksha did not listen to anybody. So Daksha thought that nobody was greater than him in argument. So therefore, Kama, Krodha and Lobha, they are considered to be three gates to hell. Trividam, Narakasyedam, Dwaram, Nashanam Atmanah, Kama, Krodhas, Kama, Krodhas, Tata, Lobha, Tasmat, Yeta, Trayam, Tejet. So there are three gates to hell. One must give up these, actually, three gates to hell. One must overcome these. Bhartrihari also says, Kanta Kataksh Vishika Nalunanti Yasya Chittam Na Nirdahati Kopa Krishanutapah Karshanti Bhuri Vishayashchana Loba Pashair Lokatrayam Jayati Kritsnamidam Sadirah. That person whose heart is not pierced by the sidelong glance, by the arrows in the form of the sidelong glances of a woman. And that person whose heart is not burnt by the fire of anger. And that person who is not actually pulled by the ropes of greed towards the sense objects. Such a person, he actually conquers the three worlds. And he is called as a Dhira Purusha. Sadhiraha. So one who conquers Kama, Krodha and Lobha is considered to be the Dhira. The Rupa Goswami also says that Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam. So, if we see, anger is actually included within the Manasa Vegam. The urges of the mind, within that itself the Krodha Vegam is included. Because when we talk about Manasa Vegam, it is explained that Kamo Manyur Mado Loba Shoka Moha Bayadayah. The mind is the root cause of Kama, Manyu, anger, pride, greed, sorrow, delusion, etc. The mind is the cause of the anger. Therefore, in Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam is also included. But still, Rupa Goswami has mentioned the Krodha Vegam apart from the Manasa Vegam. So, why he has mentioned Krodha Vegam separately, although it is included, why he has mentioned separately is that because the Krodha Vegam is the most destructive, in order to highlight that he has mentioned it separately. Why it is the most destructive? Because Krodha Vega, it leads to losing control over all the other Vegas. That is the special nature of the Krodha Vega. because Krodha Vegam leads to, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Krodha Vegam leads to losing control over the Vacho Vegam. Krodha Vega will lead to losing control over the Jihva Vegam and over the Udara Vegam, Upastha Vegam. So, Krodha can potentially upset our control over all the Vegas. Therefore, because of the special nature of the Krodha Vega, therefore it is separately mentioned, although it is included within the Manasa Vega. And the Mahabharata says that Na karyam asti kruddasya. There is no misdeed that an angry soul may not potentially engage in. There are, especially when a person in a leadership position or when a ruler, when he becomes excessively angry, then it will lead to many faults. So Manusmriti says about this. So that 8 faults are produced in rulers because of anger. Paishunyam, Sahasam, Droha, Irshya, Suyartha, Dushanam, Vag, Dandajam, Cha Parushyam, Krodajopi, Ganoshtakaha. When a ruler becomes excessively angry, it will lead to Paishunyam, gossip, Sahasam, harassment of others, Droha, betrayal of others, Irshya, envy, Asuya, fault finding, and Artha Dushanam, unjust snatching away of others' wealth. Vag Dandajam, speaking harsh words, and physical assault. So these are the effect of Krodha. But of course, when we talk about Krodha, there is also healthy anger and also unhealthy anger. It's not that all anger is unhealthy. And there is also healthy anger, which is also required in certain times, actually. Even Bhagavan maintains a healthy level of anger because he has to maintain discipline in the universe. Therefore, Bhagavan also maintains a healthy level of anger. If the Bhagavan does not become angry on the undisciplined people, then the universal system will become undisciplined. It is explained in the Bhagavatam. Madbayat vati vatoyam suryastapati madbayat varshatindo through dahatyagnir mrityus charati madbayat. So it is because of my supremacy that the wind blows out of fear of me. The sun shines out of fear of me. And the Indra sends forth showers out of fear of me. So because of the fear towards, that means there is a healthy anger. Fear towards the Bhagavan, the demigods are working. And so Krodha, so the Manusmriti Shloka already mentioned, therefore those who are rulers or managers, those who are kings, they have to be careful about the anger. If the anger is uncontrolled, it will lead to 8 faults. And also talking about healthy anger, sometimes parents have to have a healthy anger towards the children. Teacher has to show some healthy anger towards the children. And that is called as a anushasana. Such a limited healthy anger is not called as krodha, but it is called as anushasana, because that means it is required for disciplining the people under them, training the people under them. So, but there is a limit of the healthy anger. There is a limit of that unhealthy anger. Therefore, Mahabharata also says that Yo nityam kshamate tata bahun doshan sa vindati vritya paribhavantyenam udasina tatarayah. those people who constantly forgive, even the repeated offenders, who constantly forgive, they will attract many faults. And their subordinates, enemies, as well as neutral people, they will constantly disrespect such cowards. So one should not also not constantly forgive. Sometimes one has to give some punishment, I mean, which requires some healthy anger. So the repercussions of unhealthy anger, Valmiki Ramayana says that Kruddaha papam na kuryat kaha. Which angry person does not commit a papa, forbidden act? Kruddo hanyat gurunapi. Uncontrolled, unhealthy anger uh, can lead to even harming one's guru. Kruddaha parushaya vacha. And a person will end up speaking harsh speech. Naras sadhun adikshipet. He may speak harsh speech even toward the sadhus. And that is what we see in the case of Daksha, speaking harsh words, Lord Shiva. Vachya avachyam prakupito na vijanati kargichit. Such a person, he cannot judge whether these words are proper or improper. He cannot understand what should be spoken and what should not be spoken. He loses that sense of discrimination. So in that way, this Prabhupada is highlighting the power of anger. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised that one be very careful not to offend a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava aparadha is considered to be a mad elephant offense. Just like a mad elephant can do anything horrible, a person who offends a Vaishnava, he can perform any abominable action. Next shloka. विज्ञाय शापं गिरिशानुगाग्रणीर्
विज्ञाय शापं गिरिशानुगाग्रणे
नन्दीश्वरो रोषकषाय दूषितः
नन्दीश्वरो रोषकषाय दूषितः
दक्षाय शापं विससर्ज दारुणम्
दक्षाय शापं विससर्ज दारुणम्
ये चान्वमोदं स्तदवाच्यतां द्विजाः
ये चान्ममोदं सदवाच्यतां द्विजा. Upon understanding that Lord Shiva had been cursed, Nandishwar, one of Lord Shiva's principal associates, became greatly angry. His eyes became red and he prepared to curse Daksha and all the Brahmanas present there who had tolerated Daksha's cursing Shiva in harsh words.
So we see here, after Daksha left the assembly, what happened? Daksha cursed Shiva and went. So Nandishwara, who is the Girisha Anuga Agranihi. So Girisha Anuga means the follower of Girisha, follower of Lord Shiva. Not only that, Girisha Anuga Agranihi, the foremost follower. Agrani, the principal associate, principal follower of Lord Shiva. Girishanu Agrani, Girisha Anuga Agrani, that is the adjective for Nandishwara. Vigyaya Shapam. Nandishwara Vigyaya Shapa means after understanding that Daksha had cursed Lord Shiva. Vigyaya Shapam. Now what happened to Nandishwara? Rosha Kashaya Doshitaha. Nandishwara became angry. Rosha Kashaya Doshita literally means that his eyes became reddened with anger. His eyes became red with anger. And then what did he do? Dakshaya Shapam Visasarja. Nandishwara pronounced a curse towards Daksha. Dakshaya shapam visasarja darunam shapam, a harsh curse he gave to Daksha. Ye chanva modam tad avachyatam dvijaha. Not only he cursed Daksha, but he also cursed the Brahmanas, Dvijaha. There were other Brahmanas who were supporters of Daksha who did not say anything when Daksha cursed Lord Shiva. Because they did not say anything, they were also party to the curse of Daksha towards Shiva. Ye chanva bodham tadavachyatam dvijaha. He cursed Daksha and all the Brahmanas who actually silently approved the action of Daksha towards Shiva. Because they had tolerated, they did not oppose Daksha cursing Shiva. So Nandishwara cursed Daksha and also the Brahmanas. So here we see Prabhupada talks about Nandishwara being the follower of Lord Shiva. Definitely it is right on his part in becoming angry. But the point here is that what Prabhupada highlights is that there is an excessive anger. The whole atmosphere became affected by the anger. So there is a long standing dissension between some of the neophyte Vaishnavas and the Shaivaites. And they are always at loggerheads. When Daksha cursed Shiva in harsh words, some of the Brahmanas present might have enjoyed it because some of the Brahmanas they did not very much admire Lord Shiva because they were not aware of Shiva's position. So Nandishwara, because as being the foremost follower of Lord Shiva, he responded. So Daksha, Lord Shiva did not respond anything. He just remained silent. But Nandishwara was not tolerant because a follower should not tolerate the offense towards one's master. So Nandishwara was right in one sense in actually exhibiting his anger. But then Prabhupada writes that, but he should not have cursed the Brahmanas who were present. He got excessively angry. He got carried away by anger. Oftentimes, sometimes one may have to exhibit anger, but then the anger is such that we get carried away by the anger and we become excessively angry. So therefore, the entire issue was so complicated that those who were not strong enough forgot their positions. And thus cursing and counter cursing went on in that assembly. सब लोग गाली देने लगे. The whole atmosphere, Daksha Prajapati cursing Lord Shiva, it actually triggered the atmosphere of anger. The whole atmosphere filled with cursing and counter cursing. In other words, the material field is so unsteady that even personalities like Nandishwara, Daksha, and many of the Brahmanas present were infected by the atmosphere of anger. So that is the nature of the material field. Even the exalted personalities like Nandishwara, Daksha, and even the Brahmanas will also counter curse. We'll see future verses. Everyone got affected by the atmosphere of anger. So we can see sometimes even simple some TV debate. Sometimes it becomes like literally like a sabji market actually. Three, four people they shout at it, literally the top of the voice. Sometimes there are few TV debates and they went to the extreme of physical assault also actually. So the material field is so unsteady. The whole atmosphere became affected by the anger. So again, when we see in this shloka, So the point which is highlighted is that overreacting or overdoing or overly exhibiting anger. That is maybe Nandishwara Prabhupada is saying he should not have cursed the Brahmanas, but he overreacted. So Daksha left that place after igniting the fire, and the assembly did not remain quiet. Once the angry outburst begins, and it creates a whole forest fire. Lord Shiva, by his Tandava Nritya, he actually destroys the entire universe. To destroy the entire universe, how much anger one has to exhibit. But that Lord Shiva, he remained quiet. But all other people, they got affected by the atmosphere of anger. And there was a cursing and counter cursing. So what is the next three verses show what are the curses pronounced by Nandishwara. Recite the shlokas. Yayetanmartyamudishya
ययेतन् ययेतन्मृत्य उद्दिश्य
Bhagavat apratidruhi
भगवत अप्रकृतितुदि
druhyatyajnapratakdrishtis
दुग्ध्यज्ञ प्रजलदृष्टिस्
tatvato vimukho bhavet.
तत्वतो विमुखो भवेत्. Anyone who has accepted Daksha as the most important personality and neglected Lord Shiva because of envy is less intelligent, and because of visualizing in duality will be bereft of transcendental knowledge.
The first curse which Nandishwara is pronouncing, Yaha, any person, Etad Martyam Uddishya. Martyam means this temporary body. Uddishya, any person who identifies with the temporary body. And Apratidruhi Bhagavati Druhyati. And anyone who identifies with the temporary body and then who shows envy, Druhyati means hating or who shows enmity towards whom? Bhagavati, Lord Shiva. And what is the nature of Lord Shiva? Apratidruhi. Apratidruhi means किसी से द्रोह न करने वाले. Lord Shiva is such a person who does not hate anybody. But one who shows enmity towards Lord Shiva because of identifying himself with the body. Such a person is Agyaha. He is actually a fool. He is an ignorant person. Prutak Drishtihi. Such a person he actually has a differentiated vision. He will have a differentiated vision. That means he will think in terms of me and mine. Oh, this is my deha, this is my wife, this is my children, this is my property, and that is other enemy's property. He will have a differentiated vision. Agyaha pratak drishtihi tatvataha vimuko bhavet. Such a person, tatvataha means the self-realization. Atma jnana, vimuko bhavet. He will actually lose or he will turn against the Atma Jnana. He will forget the self-realization. He will be bereft of the transcendental knowledge. So, Pratak Drishti, because of visualizing in duality, he will be bereft of transcendental knowledge. So, so this is the curse of Nandishwara towards Daksha and also the other Brahmanas present there. So, Prabhupada says that Nandishwara said, Daksha identified himself with the body like other materialistic persons and was trying to derive all kinds of facilities in relationship to the body. And because he had excessive attachment for the body, in relationship with the body. Therefore, he cursed Lord Shiva. So Nandiswara's curse was that anyone who supported Daksha would be bereft of the transcendental knowledge. Tattvato vimuko bhavet. Anybody who, not only Daksha, and anybody who supports Daksha will be bereft of the transcendental knowledge. And next to shloka. Gruheshu kuta dharmeshu
गृहेषु कूटधर्मेषु
takto gramya sukhechaya
तप्तो ग्राम्यसुखेच्छया
कर्मतन्त्रं वितनुते
कर्मतन्त्रं वितनुते
वेदवादविपन्नदीः.
वेदवादविपन्नदीः. Pretentiously religious householder life in which one is attracted to material happiness and thus also attracted to the superficial explanation of the Vedas robs one of all intelligence and attaches one to fruitive activities as all in all.
So further he says that Griheshu Kuta Dharmeshu Sakto Gramya Sukhechaya. So that person, Griheshu Kuta Dharmeshu, Kuta Dharma means cheating. Kuta is cheating. That person will be attached to the cheating rules of householder life. Sakta, he will be attached. And Gramya Sukha Ichaya, he will have a desire for Gramya Sukha, material happiness. And Karma Tantram Vitanute, he will be simply be absorbed in the Karma Kanda rituals, the fruitive activities of the Vedas. And Vedavada Vipannadi, Vedavada Vipannadi, his intelligence will be spoiled by the, his intelligence will be misled by the Vedavada Rathas. Vedavada Ratha means what? Vedavada Ratha means those people who consider the Karma Kanda portion to be all in all. The second chapter, 42nd and 43rd shloka, Krishna explains this. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam taya pakrita jesata. No. The shloka. Vedavada ratapar. Yes. Second chapter. Yeah. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantyavipaschitaha Vedavada ratapartha nanyat astiti vadinaha Kamatmana swargapara janma karma falapradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishwarya gatim prati. In this shloka only the Vedavada rathas come. The word. The Vedavada rathas, they consider the karma kanda portion of the Vedas to be all in all. They feel that there is nothing higher than that. There is nothing called as a liberation. So Nandishwara is cursing these people, Daksha Prajapati and his followers who supported Daksha's curse towards Lord Shiva. They will simply be absorbed in they will be attached to the Grihamedi life, cheating rules of householder life, and they will simply have a desire for material happiness, and they will be misled by the Vedavada Rathas, and they will only remain absorbed in the Karma Kanda, the fruitive activities. So Vedavada Vipannadi means those whose intelligence is spoiled by the statements. And there are statements in the Karma Kanda section which says that by performing the Chaturmasya Vrata, one attains immortality. One becomes immortal. But actually, whatever immortality a person attains in heaven, that's not permanent. After the pious credits are over, one has to come back. But the fruitive the Karma Kanda portion, they glorify fruitive activities so that people become encouraged to perform fruitive activities. So these people will remain absorbed in the fruitive activities. So Prabhupada explains that so such persons are very careful in observing the rules and regulations of householder life in order to be promoted to the heavenly planets. And therefore, such people are attached to Gramya Sukha, which means material happiness. There is also another shloka, similar shloka comes in the third canto. Griheshu Kuta Dharmeshu Dukkha Tantresh Atandritaha Kuruvan Dukkha Pratikaram Sukavan Manyate Grihi. The attached householder remains in his family life, which is full of diplomacy and politics, always spreading miseries and controlled by acts of sense gratification. He acts just to counteract the reactions of all his miseries. And if he can successfully counteract the miseries, he thinks that he is happy. So this is another verse in the third canto in the Kapila Dev's teachings. So then the next verse will actually we conclude the next shloka. Buddhya paravidhyayanya
बुद्ध्या पराभिध्यानिन्या
vismrutatmagati pashuhu
विस्मृतात्मति विस्तृत्मात्मगति पशुः
स्त्री कामसोस्त्वतितराम
स्त्री कामस्तोत्स्वतितराम
दक्षो बस्तमुको चिरात.
दक्षो भस्तमुखो चिरात. Daksha has accepted the body as all in all. Therefore, since he has forgotten the Vishnupada or Vishnugati and is attached to sex life only, within a short time he will have the face of a goat.
So he is giving another curse. Daksha, who is para abhidhyayanya, who has forgotten the Vismrita Atmagati. Vismrita Atmagati was forgotten the spiritual goal because of accepting his body as the self. Para Abhidyayanya. And who is excessively attached to women. Stri Kama. Atitaram Stri Kama. Who is excessively attached to women like an animal. Pashuhu. And may that Daksha Basta Muko Chirat. Very soon, let him get the head of a goat. Basta Muko Chirat. So, by having intelligence which thinks the body to be the self, he has forgotten the goal of life. And desiring women excessively, he is like an animal. And therefore, he should have a head like a goat, like that Nandishwara is cursing. So, I'll just conclude with this one point. Why he is cursing, let him get the goat's head actually. So when we actually think about the goat, that goat is never praised for any good qualities. Oftentimes we praise a man for different qualities. We say he is as strong as a lion, or he is as big as a bear, or he sings like a cuckoo, or he has eyes like a fish, Meenakshi. Oh, he has memory like an elephant. An elephant is known for good memory. Or he runs fast like a cheetah. Or he is Tyago hi Purusha Vyagra. He is a tiger among men. Or he is graceful like a swan. Or he is steady like a tortoise. Or he is very peaceful like a cow. Like that, oftentimes when we glorify good qualities, we compare with many animals. But we have never seen anybody comparing, glorifying a person's good quality with some quality of a goat actually. No one compliments anyone by comparing with a goat. If you want to criticize somebody, you can say that you are like a goat. So there is nothing in the goat which can be actually glorified. In fact, in the Markandeya Puran, it is said that if at all you have to eat meat, then eat goat's meat. You should, if you have to eat meat, then eat goat. So even among the animals, goats are considered to be very low caste animals. So therefore, like for a personality like Daksha, who is so powerful, so he's a Prajapati, such a prestigious position, so effulgent, to get a curse of getting a goat's head, you can imagine how insulting it must be. There is nothing to be, because as a goat, there is nothing to be proud of. As a Prajapati, he was so proud, that is why he felt offended by Shiva not getting up. So therefore, the treatment for that pride is to get a goat's head, because with a goat's head, there is nothing to be proud of with a goat's head. And therefore, when he got the goat's head, then he would repent. We'll see that later. In that way, Nandishwara is cursing. And then the next three shlokas, he will curse the Brahmanas. He will curse the Brahmanas. Then after that, how the Brahmanas curse back, that will be described in the rest of the chapter. So I'll stop here. Today we discussed how Daksha Prajapati, although he left that assembly, although he was stopped by the elderly people like Brahma not to leave that assembly. And then Nandishwara, after hearing the curse of Daksha, how he curses Daksha, that is what we saw till the 23rd shloka. Next week we'll continue from the 24th shloka. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very good.
Anybody
Thank
has
you,
any-
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Anybody
Prabhuji.
wants
Thank you so much.
to share anything? Vrishabhanu Prabhu, would you like to comment anything you want to share?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So, Prabhuji, I just wanted to say something that as how Daksha got a bit upset, or not bit, a lot upset when he was not respected by Lord Shiva. So, if you go to see, he did the same attitude with the rest of the people who respected him. So, I mean, this is one thing he did, like, I mean, even let's consider that Lord Shiva is really all the qualities you said earlier, but he didn't have anything with him, and he got disrespected by him. But then, if you just walk out of the assembly where other people are really holding you, in a high esteem, and you just disrespect them, so that's a bigger offense, than what Lord Shiva would have done to him. This is my reflection.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Nitya Krishna Das, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Is this the effect of the modes of nature over there? Why they
Yes,
react? Huh?
yes, definitely. Definitely.
Secondly, you spoke of the body, they are attached to the body. But their body is different than what we see.
They also have material body.
Church.
They have superior material body.
That's what
But there's also made of Panchamahabhuta, but there are superior material bodies. But there's identification with the material body.
There's also the material nature is involved. No?
Yes,
No?
definitely.
The Rajoguna, there must be, because the Rajoguna must be effective. No?
Yeah, that is why the Rajoguna and Tamoguna became prominent. So therefore the cursing and counter cursing happened.
Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, just I wanted to know that when one falls down from the heaven, as it was mentioned, one example. So that all the pious credits become zero, or some credits are still remaining, so that where he can take the birth and all that. So this was the question in my mind many times from it.
Some pious credits which may remain, because of that, it may lead to taking birth as a human being. Like in the Bhagavatam 5th canto, the shloka comes that the Devatas are praying, Yadyatra na swarga sukavasheshitam svistasya suktasya kritasya shobhanam tenajanabe smritimad janmanasyat varshe hariryat bhajatam sham tanoti. 5th canto, 19th chapter. Yadyatra na swarga sukavasheshitam. If at all some pious credits are remaining in our life by the performance of charity, chanting of the Vedic mantras, by the performance of the yajnas, if some pious credit is remaining, we desire that let us take birth in the Bharat Varsha, in the Ajanaba Varsha, Bharat Varsha. Because remembrance of the Supreme Lord is easy in the Bharat Varsha. So some pious credits may remain that may help one to, it's like just like for example, suppose somebody has a bank account, he is spending the money from the bank account. Almost everything is spent, but still some money he can't spend. There is a minimum balance he has to keep.
Mm-hmm.
So that minimum balance is still there. It's not
Yes.
technically almost all the money is gone, but still some minimum balance is there. So because of the minimum balance, maybe he can use it sometime or something. That like some residual pious credits are there that leads the people from the heavenly planets to take some human birth or some good birth in the Bharatvarsha.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll stop here. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you very much for your patient attention. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.